Hello and welcome to Season AY, the platform where we speak truth to power. We're back again. Here's this the song that you hear in the background. How long gonna go to suffer? It's a song I wrote. It's about the predicament of Africa. Indeed, not just Nigeria, the whole of Africa. How long are we going to continue to suffer in the land where we have mineral resources? 30% of the world's resources lies in Africa, and we're suffering. That is wrong. It's unacceptable. And those who are exploiting us, they know this. It is time that we, the people to whom the land belongs, begin to take appropriate action to free ourselves psychologically, emotionally, physically, economically, politically, in all manners, to free ourselves from the bondage that we are in. A system that has been designed to oppress and suppress us and exploit us at our own expense has gone on for long enough, over 500 years. It is time that we Africans begin to really turn the table on this now. We need to make sure that we build an Africa that works for Africans. Africa is for Africans first and foremost, just like Europe is for Europeans. Nobody's debating or quipping with or arguing about the land of Europe or trying to take anything over. What we must not allow to happen, however, is to continue in the process whereby Africa that should be the bread basket of the world. 33% of the arable land of the entire world is in Africa. We should be feeding the entire world. Yet, we are receiving grains from the likes of Ukraine and Russia because of the system of dependency that the colonial powers have designed to keep us enslaved mentally, physically, economically, financially, a kind of stomach infrastructure. But we, the coming generation now, this generation and the coming ones behind us, we need to really stand up together and make sure that Africa works for Africans. The infrastructure that we need to really have a far better quality of life that reflects the resources that we possess must be put in place collectively. It requires all hands on deck. Let us hear what Dr. Arikana Chihombori Quao is saying here. Really important points, and I kind of emphasize it. Let me just give me a second, please. 1 second. So let us hear Dr. Arikana Chihombori Quao, particularly focusing on what France is doing in Africa. Keep in mind, Africa is being oppressed by colonials, one of which is France, holding 11 countries to ransom over their own resources in their own land. Such an unspeakable evil act, something horrifying, something we need to collectively address as Africans, because what affects those countries ultimately affects the whole of Africa. And it is in our unity together, uniting to confront these ills, the ills of the colonials oppressing us in our own land, that we must address collectively. No ifs, no buts. It is a collective effort. Let's listen on. Let's hear.
Well, people must know the truth and nothing but the truth. France remains as a member of the UN Security Council. And yet France today remains one of the biggest perpetrators of human rights violations in Africa.
Indeed.
And everybody is giving it, the world is giving it a blind eye. United Nations.
Yep.
It is a body that's supposed to be the watchdog for human rights violations. France remains the biggest risk to peace and security in Africa today.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And nobody is talking about it. France did something absolutely deplorable. Made the former colonies, because they still are colonized, sign a document which they called the Pact for the Continuation
Please listen.
of Colonization. Dig this. On one hand, we're giving you your independence, but on the other hand, sign this document that you are agreeing to continue to be colonized. So two countries said, no way, Jose, we aren't doing this. Guinea and Mali. The French could not understand it. How could an African country dare not want to be affiliated with France? So in their anger, history tells us that they went into those two countries, took everything that they thought they had brought, proceeded to pour concrete into the sewage pipes, completely devastating the two economies. This was also done as a way of letting the other countries know that should you refuse to sign this document, this is the fate that awaits you.
Listen.
So the rest of the countries signed the pact for the continuation of colonization remains in place. What is special about this? The Pact for the Continuation of Colonization said, 1, you shall deposit 85% of your bank reserves with the French Central Bank under the control of the French Minister of Finance.
85% of your own funds to the French under their control. I want you to think about that for a moment. Sheer injustice. Sheer injustice.
The French government will take all your monies, collectively invest your monies in the French stock market under the French name. And you don't have to know what the returns are. Should you wish to access some of your money, keep in mind that countries are now left with only 15% of their reserves. You have to submit your country's financial report. And if approved, you get to access up to 20% of your deposits from the previous year as a loan at commercial interest rates. I'm going to repeat that.
So you are borrowing your own money from the people who said, no, you must deposit it to us. Your own money. But they are here talking to us about democracy. What is democratic about that process? Can somebody explain that to us? What is democratic about what the French are doing to African countries? And it's impacting all of us together. In case you think it doesn't concern you, it impacts all of us together. All of us.
Should you want to access some of your own money, you have to submit your own country's financial report. And if approved, you get it as a loan at commercial interest rate. So you go from having a humongous credit with France to now owing France for borrowing your own money. A loan that you'll never be able to finish paying.
Extortion.
They also said,
pure extortion.
All your minerals discovered and yet to be discovered, French companies have the first right of refusal. You go to those countries today, all major contracts, French companies have the first right of refusal. The water supply, the power supply, the mining fixtures, the oil rigs, roads construction, airports, French companies have the first right of refusal. If anything is left, the people in your country may get it. They also said, your military can only be trained by France. You can only purchase military equipment from France. France shall have military presence in your country and can invade your country without notice if France feels that her interests in your country are being violated. In the past many years,
that is exactly what is happening in Niger right now. France taking away uranium from Niger for over 40 years. Niger saying no. France is saying without any warning they can invade a sovereign, so-called sovereign country because of French interest in a sovereign country. Can you see how absurd all this is? Africans, we need to wake up. If you think, oh, it's only the French speaking, they're all doing it in all one shape or form where our resources have been extracted and we, the Africans, are getting zero for it. That's the reality. Let's listen on.
We've had 67 coups in Africa out of 26 countries.
67 coups.
Of the 26 countries, the coups, 16 coups, were 16 countries were former French colonies.
16.
To date, 22 African leaders were assassinated.
Nobody jailed.
Documented, all of them. France was behind it.
France behind 22 coups. And yet they have the temerity to talk to us about talk to anybody in Africa about morality. Can you see that? Can you see the injustice? Africans awake. Africans unite. Africans awake. Africans arise.
Simply because France failed, they were quote unquote threatening French interests countries are still depositing their funds
To
to
today.
France. Do's and don'ts as stipulated by the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. You have given up your financial resources. You have given up control of your natural resources. You have given up your military. What power do you have?
Indeed.
Today, because of the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization, France alone, that little bitty country, is taking out of Africa over $500 billion. Over $500 billion. And by the time they finish investing that money into the French stock market, they're realizing trillions of dollars in any given year. Park that. The watchdogs for corruption are saying out of Africa, 50 billion gets out of the continent from corruption. The question I have is, why has it been so difficult for us as Africans to say enough is enough?
Why indeed?
How long
How long?
are we going to keep watching this carnage go on?
The song is saying it. The song is how long? How long gonna go to suffer? The carnage is suffering. Same thing. That's what the song is saying. How long gonna go they suffer? It's in the song. Ties very much directly to what she's saying. Africans, wake up. Africans, unite. Africans, arise.
And we say nothing. It goes back to the mind.
Absolutely nothing.
Goes back to that fear. It goes back to that sense of inferiority. And I go back to the diagnosis I made when I went to Washington. That until we black people understand that we are suffering from the legacy of colonization,
Yep.
that we are suffering from the legacy of slavery, that while we may have lost the shackles of in our legs and our hands, the shackles of the mind continue.
Very much evident.
Until we realize that we are a wounded people and we need healing, nothing about our circumstances is going to change.
Absolutely.
We are sick people.
Yep. 1 second.
But to be sick, first you must realize and accept that you're sick. How do you go to the doctor if you don't think you're sick? We're not only in the doctor's waiting room on outpatient basis. We're not even in the hospital in a general ward. As black people, we are in the intensive care.
This book, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, is very much relevant to what she's saying. I know it talks about Africa and African Americans a lot, but everything that is being said, we as Africans we're experiencing that through the sheer injustice. $500 billion taken out of our economy by a French country, by France, and France benefiting at the expense of Africans, and we say nothing. That is psychologically conditioning us to accept this injustice. That is a slave syndrome. Let me show you again. Sorry. That is a slave syndrome. Post-traumatic slave syndrome. Get the book by Joy the Goy. Great book. I just wanted to just put that in. Let's carry on. 1 minute. I've got books here that I refer to when I'm looking for inspiration. These are the books that I read. Let's go ahead.
And we need to realize that the baby is now born, and her name is the African Continental Free Trade Area.
Okay.
You see, the children of Africa must realize that now we need diapers, we need formula. There are going to be sleepless nights. This baby is going to cry. This baby is going to throw tantrums. We need to be ready to take care of this baby. Africa is on the move. The question is, are the children of Africa ready to step up and take what is rightfully yours? You got to understand, around the globe, as black people, the reason we are so disrespected is because we're poor. Most of us don't own anything. Singularly, while we were given our independence, the one thing that was denied from us is economic liberation.
Exactly.
The African heads of states are saying African wealth belongs to the African children. The African Union defines African diaspora as all people of African descent living outside Africa. The colonizers have been building the Africa that they want. The game is up. You see, you don't go to China and find black people driving the Chinese development agenda. You don't go to Europe, you don't go to Mexico, India, and find black people driving those regions' development agenda. The reality is, you must not, cannot, should not, and golly, will not go to Africa and find non-Africans driving the African continental development agenda. Unless, of course, you, the children of Africa, the inheritors of Africa's wealth, choose to vacate that place that has your name. The choice is yours. The environment is ready. And so, I'm on a mission to see to it that we, people of African descent, truly understand our Africa, truly realize that we have been lied to,
so many
but
times.
that we're smart enough to know better.
Yes.
That we have been sleeping, that it's time to wake up.
Yep.
You see, a united African diaspora is a sleeping giant. It is the sleeping giant that is needed to bring the sustainable change that Africa desires. Bigger corruption in Africa is coming from outside. Try flying low over the DRC. You're going to see tarmacs in the middle of the jungle. You're going to see 747s flying into the DRC, picking up minerals and flying right outside the country. Do you think those multinationals are going to want to see peace in the DRC? Do you think they're going to want to see peace in South Sudan? No. A stable Africa is an Africa that cannot be exploited. So they will see to it that there will never be peace in Africa by any means necessary, unless you come to the table and do something about it. For a continent that doesn't have a single gun manufacturing company, we simply have endless supply of guns. Mm-hmm. How? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How is this okay?
Yeah.
That Africa continues to be exploited? How is it okay that the world has watched as France is taking cold, hard cash out of Africa? How is this okay? Africa. I want to know. United Nations, answer that.
Oh, they won't answer. They have no answers.
Secretary General Guterres, answer that.
Oh, they have no answers.
When you all meet every year in New York, what are you talking about? That is our reality. No more shall we continue to be ignorant. Our eyes are open. We know our Africa. We are going to reconnect with our roots. African Americans, you must understand there is a void that is deep in each and everyone's subconscious. Mm-hmm. It is a void that affects everything you do. First, you must understand you have that void. In this country, with the exception of the American Indians, everybody is a foreigner. And everybody has their roots outside the United States. And the rest of the races are connected to their roots, with the exception of the African Americans. You're too busy running away from your roots. You're busy denying who you are. Well, guess what? It is what it is. You are an African, and Africa is home. And the sooner you wake up and realize and accept that Africa is home, the sooner you're going to fill that void. For as long as that voice is in you, you're always going to be like a ship without an anchor. The wind blows this way, here you go. The wind blows the other way, here we go. Find your base. Go home. Africa is where you belong. And Africa is where your roots are. Thank you.
We stand alongside you and we support your mission and your fight. Please accept this as a small token of our appreciation. Thank you.
But as I began to make a diagnosis, I analyzed the situation And my final assessment was that the ignorance that the world has about Africa is the disease that I must fight. So I set out to have a plan, and I began implementation. Because it is only when that disease is treated, it is only then and only then can we embark on a true healing path for Africa and her children. Mm-hmm. The African Continental Free Trade Area is creating an economy that's $3 trillion with a workforce intra-Africa of 1.27 billion. An environment that you can spread and grow your business like wildfire from one country to the other. The borders that have kept us from trading with each other as African countries are in the process of being melted as we speak.
Hey guys, I don't
So,
must
so,
know the truth.
so
nothing but
thank you
the
very
truth.
much.
France remains.
So let me just pull away from that 1 second. So just wanted to just wrap it up and say everything that Dr. Arikana Chihombori Quao said is correct. The fact that France is sitting on the UN carrying out this daylight robbery, and they're talking to us about corruption. That's the biggest corruption going. One of the biggest corruptions going is France, taking away $500 billion from 14 African countries, 3 of whom have now decided to stop. 4 of them actually now, saying no, well, no more. And nobody in the UN has the power to, has the guts to say, France, this is wrong, enough. This is daylight robbery. It is not a just system. The only people that can stand up for Africans are Africans. We have to do it collectively, critically collectively. We have to see Africa as one entity. All of us working together to make sure that we free that entity, because they have kept us divided whilst they're exploiting and taking our resources at dirt cheap prices. I kid you not. Let me see if I can find your video. I may be able to find it. If not, don't worry, I will do another video about that again. I think I've shared that video. Dr. Howard Nicholas talked about it, that they want African resources at dirt cheap prices because that's what they use in making finished products. Africa must begin to do, we are close to the source of these resources. We are the ones at the source of these resources, and we must use it to produce finished products to sell to those whoever wants to buy. We will sell it. We will not going to be selective about that. We will sell it. But what we must do is begin to use our resources to create jobs, to create a better society for us, and stop the exploitation, the continued exploitation for over 400 years of African resources by colonials. We say no more to that. We need to begin to work together. The work has just begun. The African Economic Free Trade Area is something that it's laudable. We need to look into more as how we can partner and work together with them collectively. But like I said, one of the things we need to begin to do is Africans, we must begin to talk amongst ourselves. We need to make sure that every African country is trading. The first people we trade with must be Africans. The first people we trade with in Africa must be Africans. Nobody else. That's the first people. France are saying they have forced refusal on our own resources in our own land. That's crazy. That's insane. Literally insane. My people, we need to wake up. The song is saying it. How long are you going to suffer? How long will you continue to suffer in effect? Now, please, let us not just be all about just talking. We need to take collective action. Let us all begin to work together within all our groups and focusing on how we can and bring Africa back to life, because our resources are being taken by those who are exploiting us and impoverishing us. Yet they're telling us that we're poor when they are the source of the poverty. The source of our poverty are colonials who are exploiting and impoverishing us in our land, forcing us to leave our own land through their actions. Our collective action must put a stop to it. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching Season AY, the platform where we speak to the power. If this resonates with you, I want you to please share. It is of immense importance that we share this message. We need to continue to expose the hypocrisy of the likes of France and all the other colonials. This goes back down to the 1884 Berlin Conference, like I stated so many times on this platform. Please, if this resonates with you, please share. We do not want any war happening in Niger. We are hearing some reports now that the Nigerian military are saying, well, they don't want any bloodshed. They want to make sure that the officers receive training. That is a speak for saying that they are not equipped. No equipment, no proper training, all of this stuff for going into any war. And we don't advocate that Africans begin to fight Africans. The only people that benefit from that situation are, of course, the colonials. It is time we wake up collectively as Africans. You are watching Citizen AY, the platform where we speak truth to power. Please subscribe to Citizen AY. Go ahead and subscribe. Hit the notification button. And then, of course, give us a thumbs up. So one more time, please, would like you to go ahead and what? Subscribe to Citizen AY. Yeah, hit the red button. By hitting the red button, notification button, and of course, give us a thumbs up. Help us reach more people. We really appreciate your support. And in closing, what we'd like you to say, we'd like you to know is just keep it locked on. Thank you very much. Bye for now.